got Tracy Wallace here this is episode number 2 of the Content Briefly podcast. And as I mentioned last time, there's a lot of things we're doing differently about this podcast. One thing we're not doing differently is we're bringing on some of the same people we talked to in the last one. So Tracy, you were one of those. Back on the career thing we did a couple years ago. Anyways, thank you for being game for doing this. We'll talk today about you, about Klaviyo, about your team there. But maybe first, could you just give an introduction of yourself? Tell us a little about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to be back for a new podcast in general. I'm Tracy Wallace. I am the Director of Content Strategy over here at Klaviyo. I have been in content marketing for like 12 years now, which is upsetting to think about and talk about. But yeah, prior to that, I was in journalism. So was working over at Elle Magazine, Mashable, Time Out New York, all of that jazz. And there's no like real romance story. I hopped over to content marketing because the salary was better 12 years ago and ended up kind of just finding my way. I will say I am a self-taught content marketer. Historically, content marketing wasn't a career path. It was kind of like a random thing that some B2B companies were trying. So most of the stuff that I know how to do is very much self-taught and or really just learning with other content marketer folks out there, including folks who are working for a lot of my competitors who turn out to be some really good friends.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And so today, you've had a really interesting career. You know, Marketer Hire, BigCommerce, a few others, like really like big, really cool brands. You're at Klaviyo now. Can you tell us a little bit about Klaviyo? Like who/what is it? Like a little bit of background on the product itself and then who's the customer?
Yeah, for sure. So Klaviyo is a marketing automation platform. So we do email marketing, SMS marketing, a CDP really for the e-commerce industry. It started back in 2012. And really since then, it built a strong integration with Shopify very early on, which was really beneficial for the company. It now serves really anybody on any e-commerce platform as well as custom platforms through APIs, is one of the most used apps, if not the most used app in the Shopify ecosystem, specifically for email and SMS marketing. And then Klaviyo will likely be looking to expand verticals in a near future too. So we do really well in e-commerce and looking to grow even beyond that as well, and also offer a few new features beyond email, SMS, and the CDP.
Can we talk about the CDP for a minute? It's an acronym you see popping up now. Customer Data Platform, right?
That's it. Yeah, sorry. Yes. Customer Data Platform. Do you want me to explain what it is?
I do mind because I feel like it's a little bit of a nebulous concept until you've actually used one and then you're like, it makes so much sense now.
Yeah. So a CDP is in a lot of ways a lot like a CRM. So it's a customer relationship management platform. So like HubSpot would be a CRM in which you're collecting a bunch of data and then trying to leverage and activate that data to create unique experiences on your website and emails, all of that jazz. So Klaviyo certainly does that. There's a CRM aspect to it, but the reason why it is classified as a CDP is because it integrates with Shopify. So all of the data that is pulling in from Shopify ends up over in your Klaviyo account attached to the specific customer who took it. But it's not just Shopify. It's any app that you were using. All of that data comes back into Klaviyo and lives on a single customer's profile so that you can see absolutely every action, every engagement that those folks have taken. And then beyond that, you can personalize, again, the website, emails, SMS messages, but even like retargeting, right? So think, beyond kind of your owned channels, you can leverage that data in a variety of different ways. And then CDPs also often have an intelligence layer over it, right? So helps you predict longevity of the customer, so customer lifetime value, what specific segments are worth, how to even find more segments like that, all of it based on your own customer data. All of this is becoming a lot more important as third-party cookies or third-party data in general kind of goes away over time or becomes a lot more difficult to use and in some cases illegal to use. So a lot of companies are pulling in CDPs, which existed before the third-party data switch really happened. But a lot of folks, the reason you see it popping up more is because a lot of folks are relying on CDPs now as they collect more first-party and zero-party data to, improve their marketing, their targeting, their lead scoring even. You might see, D2C companies over time even begin to do more lead scoring in the same way B2B companies do, all of that jazz. So CDPs historically kind of started in the B2B tech SaaS space, and you see them expanding into e-commerce and really across all industries where third-party data was really important, but again, really challenging to get and or illegal to get for a variety of reasons.
Got it. Okay, that's super helpful. I think of Klaviyo as part of this category of SaaS companies that's B2B2C, and that introduces a new flavor to it. I mean, do you think of it that way? Because you're selling to a business, but I imagine that business could be like a range from a hobbyist who wants to sell something online for the first time to like, a giant direct to consumer platform that, does hundreds of millions of dollars in sales a year.
Yes. So Klaviyo is technically, I guess, B2B to C. So most of our customers are selling to consumers. So our marketing is specifically to other businesses, but we're educating them on how to sell to their consumers, right? So we do have a large entrepreneur segment. So, folks just getting started. Our biggest segment is small business. So that's folks making, I can't remember what the bottom is, but it's up to 20 mil in annual revenue. And then I think it's like, there's a large portion of our customer base that is mid-market. So again, we do really well in the Shopify ecosystem, including the Shopify Plus ecosystem. So vast majority of brands on Shopify Plus and Shopify are using Klaviyo. And again, we have integrations for BigCommerce, WooCommerce, Wix, and then the APIs for anyone who wants to do something custom.
Okay, cool. That's really interesting. All right, let's talk content. So your role is Director of Content Strategy. What is your job and who's on your team? I'm just trying to get a sense for like, what does the content organization look like at Klaviyo?
Yeah, so the content organization at Klaviyo is the largest content organization I've ever had prior to this. I have been a one-woman show, maybe with like a couple other people, but not really for a long time. So over here at Klaviyo, I'm the Director of Content Strategy. I have 2 content marketers / content strategists on the team, and then 2 full-time writers. One of them also kind of doubles as our full-time editor. And then we just brought on a full-time case study person as well. So I'll have a good sized team.
Yeah. So that's 5 people?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay. So the next question is, how do you communicate with them? We're going to ask everybody this because I'm just sort of curious, like how much of it is async? How often are you meeting? Do you do one-on-ones with everybody? Do you have like a weekly content meeting? Like that's a bunch of random questions. The general gist is like, how do you guys communicate?
Yeah. So we have a weekly 30-minute stand-up. So that's our Tuesday stand-up in which we look at the content that was published the week prior and then all upcoming content. So it's really a status call. And we usually are looking at content anywhere from, again, what published the last week and kind of how it's doing, all the way up to about 3 months out. And then I do have individual one-on-ones with each one of those 5 folks. We have a monthly content marketing meeting. Those meetings usually are looking at data, right? Trying to help educate the team on understanding our data and goals a little bit more and better, as well as like any general feedback that like everyone on the team needs to know rather than saying it again and again in all those one-on-ones. So that includes things like values, any changes in strategy, anything that's kind of like coming up and or important that everyone should know. We talk a lot over Slack, including I probably do at least 2 kind of one-off calls a day with someone on the content team, which is just like a quick ping where it's like, hey, can I run something by you? Hey, can I like get your take on this? Hey, can like you help me like make sure this sounds a little bit more accurate? And we do those over Slack's nifty little video tool.
Oh, yeah. That's really nice. It makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
And who do you report to?
I report to the VP of brand.
Okay. And I'm not asking for specific numbers, but like, are there a set of metrics that you and the team are responsible for? Like, do you have to go to the VP of brand each quarter or whatever and say like, here's how we did on our big KPIs?
Yeah. So, I mean, this has actually changed a lot. So I only joined Klaviyo about a year ago. And when I first joined, the content team was primarily measured on like production. How much are you producing? And I came in and was like, no way. Production is an okay way to measure things, but I prefer to run content marketing organizations as strategy organizations rather than as service-only organizations. There's a real big difference there. I mean, we still have to straddle service to a certain extent, but if you're a strategy organization, you need to be responsible for KPIs. So I started implementing last May content downloads on the site. We started seeing those working really well. We're able to track those back to revenue. started reporting out on it. So now, as of 2023, content team is responsible for growing overall sessions to our content properties. So that includes our /blog, our /marketing resources, pages in particular, case studies, we're still figuring out the KPIs for that. Those just got moved over to our team. So those are a little bit separate. So responsible for all up sessions to content properties, organic sessions to content properties, organic visitors to content properties, which is a bit of a unique Klaviyo way of looking at the world. So visitors is anyone who visits our site who does not have an account with us already, free or paid. So we're looking at like prospects only, right? So we're responsible for those folks, organic visitors, which we primarily try to drive through non-brand SEO. And then, of course, we are also responsible for reporting out on content-assisted MRR, so monthly recurring revenue, organic monthly recurring revenue, and content download monthly recurring revenue.
That's interesting. How do you measure that? I mean, I know that's we could probably talk about that alone for an hour. Are there any tools that you rely on? Or for some companies, I find it's just a matter of everyone, I think if you get a group of people and say okay, let's talk about attribution, they all kind of have a slightly different idea of what you're talking about. And if everyone can just agree on something that's good enough, we believe that if this moves up, revenue will also likely move up too. That's probably good enough. But I am curious if you have a more formulaic way to do it.
Yeah, I'm very much in the camp of good enough, mostly because content doesn't just, and I guess you heard me say a minute ago, we look at content assisted MRR, not only MRR, because content only MRR is typically a very small number versus content assisted is really taking into account that the organization is serving both strategy and service. A lot of our content gets used by our performance marketing team, by our sales team, by our events team, and they have to take credit for the metrics that they drive through those channels, which means all the work we did to produce that suddenly isn't ours anymore. And that changes when you can include the content assist revenue. So Klaviyo is continuing to work on improving the way we measure this. We are actively moving. So Klaviyo uses Klaviyo as it's how we capture content downloads, all of that jazz. And we're actively working to sync all of those leads over into Salesforce. And then we'll be able to get a much more definitive view of these content downloads, how much revenue are we driving exactly. Right now, we're kind of triangulating the metric, which is anyone who comes to the website, any visitor, and remember, visitors are prospects only, so somebody who does not have an account at all, no account. Any visitor that comes and visits the website and is not a lead or an MQL, if they MQL within 60 days of landing on a content page or downloading a content asset, then we're getting to count that as a content assist if they close later.
That's great. I'm loving this because, so we're going to talk to a variety of people on this podcast. We're going to talk to some people who are lone wolf, that early stage startup, This is so fascinating because this is grown up content marketing. A lot of people who work for larger organizations, I don't know exactly how many people Klaviyo has, but it's a very well-established business at this point.
It is. Yeah. And I mean, to be fair to everyone listening right now who's I could never build that myself, I couldn't either. Our data team helped me build this out.
That's the thing. At a certain stage, you have a data team that assists you with these things. Whereas a lot of content marketers are banging their heads against the wall trying to figure out an Excel formula that will...
So our data team over here helped me build it out at the request of our CFO, right? Who specifically said, I know content has a halo effect, right? I want to be able to kind of understand what that effect is. And look to her data guy in the room and was help Tracy figure that out. I'm great, we will go figure out how to do that. And they were super helpful. So we have this new content assist metric, which we have to kind of keep close eyes on because sometimes it breaks for a variety of reasons. Salesforce will get us more accurate data, which our paid team, our performance team is more interested in, right? The performance team's content assist is okay, but we actually want to see how much actual revenue is this stuff driving, and we'll be able to report out on that more clearly here soon. At other organizations though, where I did not have a data team able to do something like this for me. I relied really heavily on HubSpot. So I'm super familiar with with HubSpot as just a CRM tool in general. So would use Google Analytics to see overall sessions coming into a site, which HubSpot will also capture and typically organize it for you, typically properly, though sometimes you have to hop in by the default channel that it comes in on. So whether that's organic, direct, paid, all of that jazz. And then from there, because HubSpot also has content, it has forms, so you can do content downloads, you can do newsletter captures, all of that jazz. You can ultimately see over the life of someone, when someone downloaded a piece of content or even saw a piece of content, if they later ended up becoming an MQL or, an opportunity or a paid customer. All of that, while it is not necessarily immediately easy to build out in HubSpot, I think everyone listening could probably figure it out. There's a lot of articles out there on how to do it. The HubSpot folks in particular are also really helpful if you have a support team over there. So that's how I've measured it historically in the past when I was just a team of Tracy trying to prove that content drove revenue.
That's really cool. Do you all use HubSpot as your CMS also?
Not so we don't. So at those organizations, no. I've used WordPress and Webflow for those orgs. HubSpot, to my understanding, isn't a great platform for CMS from an SEO standard.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at. It's I Webflow and WordPress is what you hear everywhere, but you don't have to switch a CMS in order to get some of those same benefits.
Oh, absolutely not. So tools like HubSpot, even Klaviyo, right? Part of the way that they collect so much data is you're dropping a token essentially on your website, so that when folks land there, the same way all CDPs collect data this way too, right? You're dropping a token on there and they're following people through all of their interactions and engagement.
I am not technical at all, and I just set this up for LinkedIn ads, put a LinkedIn pixel on our site through Google Tag Manager. It was so much easier than I thought it was going to be.
It is. It's way easier than you think. There are really great YouTube videos out there on it. Like HubSpot, other platforms Klaviyo has really great documentation on it, right? It is very easy if you have access to the back end to figure out how to do it. But if you are nervous, you could ping your developer and it will take them no more than 5 minutes to drop it on there.
Content marketers in general should probably bug developers more than they actually do anyways.
Oh, for sure. It's super important. I mean, we're going through a blog redesign right now, and my poor developers are being hounded because this is the time to make sure that we get our schema right, to make sure that we get our age tags right, to make sure that images are tinified as they get pushed online. We do a lot of manual background work right now to make sure that our content is as optimized for search as possible. And a lot of that can be automated, but it has to be built into the system. And most developers just don't know technical SEO well enough to know what needs to be done where. So yeah, our devs have a lot of notes coming to them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I wanted to touch on content production. So when I go to the Klaviyo site and I hover over the resources tab, there's a lot here. Blog, podcast.
Yeah, we've just added 20
case studies. Yeah, I mean, is everything, I guess support is not under your purview.
Support's not there, yeah. So Klaviyo has a couple different organizations internally that produce content. So there's the content marketing organization, which is responsible for the blog, case studies, and marketing resources, as well as in the future, I imagine we'll do podcasts or, we want to put on an online conference, that kind of stuff will come from our organization. Our product marketing team publishes a blog called What's New. And so they are publishing all of our new feature content, essentially, which when I was over at BigCommerce, we didn't have that separation. The content marketing team did that also. So again, that's kind of unique at different organizations. Our product marketing team also puts on what we call our KPEs. So that's Klaviyo product events, and those happen once a quarter. And then our academy team, our education team, publishes our academy content. They manage our community, and then any of our specific Klaviyo how-to articles. And
okay, cool. That is robust. How much do you have a sense for how much content is going out on a weekly or monthly basis?
I mean, my team alone is putting out at least 2 blogs a week. And most of those blogs are repurposed into at least one PDF, if not up to 5 PDFs. Our product marketing team is publishing probably at least 2 to 3 blogs per month on their what's new. And then our academy and education team, I'm not sure how much is going out kind of on like the how-to section, but they host bi-weekly live Klaviyo trainings. So like bi-weekly, and that's twice a week, not every other week, 2 times per week, live Klaviyo trainings for prospects, customers, anyone, where anyone can come in, ask questions, and they like walk them through how to do stuff in the platform.
Who writes all the content? There's kind of a little bit more underneath that question.
Yes.
We're certainly seeing a trend of in-house teams producing less content in-house, relying more heavily on vendors. How do you all approach that? I assume you have writers on the team, so I assume that they're writing. Like, do you scale that or supplement that with freelancers, agencies?
Yeah, so on the content marketing team, we do have 2 full-time writers. So they write the majority of our content. We use right now only 1 other freelance writer, and she writes anywhere from 1 to 2 pieces for us a month. We have really scaled down and scaled back our freelance writing budget. We had a much larger budget last year, but also we didn't have those 2 full-time writers until like halfway through the year. They lived on a different team doing different stuff, and then they ended up coming over to ours, and we used that time to kind of like remove the freelance writing and increase the in-house writing. I personally, I've always used freelancers to help supplement, but on most of my teams, most of the writing, I would say like 70% of it has been done in-house. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, again, I come from a journalism background. As a result, including like real customer interviews in content is really important to me. Going back just to journalism principles, like we want 3 interviews for every single piece. And I'm talking real interviews, like not we're just surveying people. Now, to be fair, at Klaviyo, we don't do it for every single piece, but we do it for like 70% of our pieces. And it's hard to outsource to freelancers that work. I mean, we're interviewing customers, we're interviewing partners. It's really important that we show up as well-educated on our own platform and tool, well-educated on Klaviyo's stance, as well as how the customer or partner is using the tool, and that we ask really great questions and like build good rapport. And then, of course, because Klaviyo's big, we have to get all of that approved from a legal perspective. So they have to sign customer consent forms and partner consent forms for us to be able to move all of that through. Similarly, we are also, again, Klaviyo is a big organization and a CDP. And so we collect a lot of data and can anonymize that data across all of our customers. So we are now also in about 60% of our content, including proprietary Klaviyo data to help supplement.
Cool.
Yeah. So like right now,
amazing.
Yeah, we just published a piece on, or republished a piece on subject lines that Kaylee Moore actually wrote for us last year. And we didn't like change any of the content that she wrote, but we did add like 6 new charts to it, showing like what the average, email headline is, open rates, all of that jazz. All of that pulled from proprietary Klaviyo data. And it looks at it specifically for, okay, this is what small businesses are doing. This is what mid-market businesses are doing. Really in an effort to kind of show people how all of that works. And we're getting better at data visualization. That's more and more.
That's so interesting. It was interesting because on the last podcast, we talked to Sean Blanda, who echoed 2 of the same things. One is bringing the like a journalism mindset to content marketing, and 2, data visualizations. Like he harped on both of those things as well. How do you think about, I'll call it content hygiene, refreshing, sprucing up, maybe even overhauling old pieces? Like, is that an ongoing effort? Is that the type of thing that comes up like a couple times a year and there's like a sprint to fix a few things?
No. It's ongoing. I would say we publish maybe about 40% of the content that we publish is on a net new URL, and about 60% is on an existing URL.
Interesting. That's a lot.
It's a lot. I mean, again, I've only been here a year. Klaviyo's been around since 2012. There's a lot of old content that wasn't done to the current standards that we have for a lot of reasons, right? Different teams. Some of us from like 2014, right? Yeah, it's just dated. But from an SEO perspective, the URLs are great, right? Like they're old, right? And you wanna reuse URLs that have like good old, one backlinks, a lifespan, all of that jazz. Cleaning up in general also just typically looks good to the Google bots. So we try to use any URL that we have available, and we are only going to be publishing on net new URLs if no URL that we currently have will serve that purpose. Now, this year for Klaviyo, right now, we are focused on the content marketing team. About 70% of our efforts are on SEO. Klaviyo hasn't historically really focused on that from an editorial point of view. And so we are really working to grow and scale that this year. But next year, we plan to, if we hit our goals this year, which we plan to reduce that to a 40% focus on SEO. And primarily what we'll be doing then is updating and repurposing existing content, right? So we need to clean this year. We need to get pieces to a good place. And then every year we want to go back into pretty much every piece of content we have every 12 months to every 6 months and update it with new data, new quotes, new examples, new headlines, and republish to make sure that we are keeping it fresh, both for our audience, but also for search engines.
This is such a professional operation. I love it. Like, you're just doing all the things that people like, I should probably do that. But you've operationalized all of them and are making sure they all happen, which is, I think, is awesome. 2 quick questions for you. The first is tools. Are there any tools you rely on, other than kind of like the basic tools like, Google Analytics or whatever everybody else is using?
Yeah, Klaviyo uses Monday.com for project management, but I would not recommend it to anybody. I've used them all at all the different places. I mean, Asana, Jira, Trello, Airtable. This is my first time with Monday. I'm gonna say this, and if any Monday people are listening, like, please help us. If all you did was allow a ticket to live on multiple boards, not mirroring. Mirroring sucks and doesn't work. If you just allowed a ticket to live on multiple boards, Monday would be useful and effective. But because it can't, oh my God, it's awful.
That's super frustrating.
Yeah.
So that's like a top-down thing. Like, Klaviyo uses Monday, like, therefore the content team uses it.
Yeah, therefore we have to use it. I prefer Asana and or Airtable. Those are the 2 that I like. Tickets can live on multiple boards. Airtable is really nice because it's really easy to automate things. My team does a lot of manual, like, copying, pasting from different docs. So that's the project management tool we're using. Would not recommend it. In terms of content tools, we use Ahrefs, so Ahrefs. We use ClearScope, of course. WordPress is what we publish on. We have an account to Statista. We're looking right now at a data visualization tool called Flourish, which our creative team is an in-house only team. We don't use any agencies. And so when 60% of our content needs data visualization, bless their hearts, it's a big request. And so Flourish is a tool that's now owned by Canva. They allow your creative team to go in and essentially like set like branding templates for like 150, 250 plus data visualizations that they already have in there. And then a content team could get in and drop data in, and it just like automatically visualizes it. They have moving graphics, and can export it over to Canva and like and into social templates, all of that jazz. So we are about to like put it through our testing processes because, we have like, strict security on our CMS, all of that jazz that we kind of need to like test it with. But I'm excited about that one. We are looking also at Jasper AI and just trying to figure out how to use AI tools better. The main way that I want to use it, that I'm sure is a use case that will be more popular in the future, but AI tools just aren't very good at it right now. I want to be able to drop a like piece of content in. Again, we interview people, we have data visualizations, like the content we're producing is really high quality. But then most of our internal channels need that piece of content in different formats for their own channels. And my team can't really do that, right? Not for everybody. We need to serve as a kind of centralized production hub, and then everybody else can take that content and put it in whatever format and edit it, all of that jazz. But I'm sure other people have run into this, which is anyone not on a content team says they can't write and edit. And as a result, they won't take content and put it in that new stuff. And so I'm hoping AI can help us figure out how to do that. So again, dropping blog posts in, you could tell it things like, customize this for, a fashion marketer and like put it in a one pager kind of style, like whatever. I don't think we are far from that. I just don't think that has been a highly requested use case just yet. But man, I am talking to every AI tool about it. I'm like, someone build it for me and I will use you endlessly.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really cool. One last question, then we'll get you out of here because I know you got to run. Your newsletter, where can people find it?
Yeah, so my newsletter is through the good folks over at Workweek. I honestly do not know the URL of it right now. You could go to my Twitter. So I'm on Twitter at Tracy Wallace, and it's linked there. Okay, perfect. You can also type in like contentment on the internet.
Workweek.com/brand/content. We'll just link it. So
yeah,
you can easily get it. It's really good. It's a really good newsletter. It comes up in the Slack group quite a bit, actually. We'll make sure that we send people there. Tracy, this was dense. There was so much informative, so helpful, so interesting. I feel like I learned so much. My main takeaway is like I said, that you've just operationalized all the little things, and that's how you run a professional content organization. So kudos to you. It's amazing.
Thank you. And thank you again for having me, truly.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you around, and we'll see everybody next time on episode 3. Thanks, Tracy. Take care.
Thanks, bye.